Hey guys,
Welcome back to Southern Miss Motivation,
with Bree and Dorcas,
where we
do not constitute service or advice, and potty language
will be used. What the hell is up, Dana? Listen, y'all, we've got the coolest episode today because we actually came up with this idea from our Canada buddy,
the dork from the north.
Dork from the North.
His actual idea was what?
It came about with him messaging us about withholding things in front of a new relationship, withholding stuff from
So like not having gas.
in front of a new girlfriend or boyfriend. Just things that you kind of like keep hidden, I guess, maybe.
And we were also thinking about, how do you know when somebody's lying to you? Because some people have started making you friends, and we're just like, how do you know when they're
How do you cut
full
through the
of
bullshit
it?
is
Yeah.
what we're talking about today.
How do you know when they're full of the poopy cock, and how do you know when they're really telling the truth?
Yeah, truth or bullshit.
So we thought they kind of went together because we all keep secrets from people, even us.
Yeah.
Bree keeps all the secrets. So we wanted to talk about the things we keep from people,
And why do we do it?
and not necessarily things we personally keep from people, but yeah, things we keep from people.
Yeah, exactly. I think we were going to kind of touch on, why do we feel like we need to keep stuff from people to begin with? I think first thing is we probably don't want to be judged or felt like we're being judged by.
That's my thing. Like, I have this huge fear of judgment, and I don't know, well, I do know where it comes from, but it's like, I don't want people to think bad of me, and I want the image of me to be like within my control.
Yeah, I think that's me too. And I think for the longest time with me, I thought, I don't want them to think I'm stupid, but now I'm just like, who gives a shit if they think I'm stupid? And especially as I get older, that I think that care is less and less for me.
Well,
In that
and
respect.
for me, like, them not being stupid things, so you can downplay it to where, as long as it doesn't look like you're trying,
It just comes natural.
It's just, oh, bless.
Right. I think we actually were talking to our dork from the north, and he was saying to us that in some of his messages that there was a fine line between sharing, or maybe even when you're comfortable enough to share.
Right.
So
yeah, I mean, some people are more private than others.
yes.
I tend to overshare if somebody's listening to me. I'll tell you stuff you probably don't even want to know. Whereas other people, like my boyfriend, he does not share a lot. Like,
Right.
We've been together over 2 years, and still he'll tell me things, and he'll be like, "Oh, I thought I told you that," and I'm like, "No, I've never heard this little trinket of
I
information."
think that happens too. And what about that whole situation that you get yourself in, and you're like, it might be just a minute, just simple thing, but then when it comes out, you're like, why didn't you tell me?
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't you tell me that?
Right.
But it really wasn't a big enough deal to feel like it needed to be shared.
And sometimes I think there's not a right time to tell some things.
Yes.
So it may be that you're holding off
Right.
telling something. But when I first started dating, after a long relationship I was in, when I started doing like online dating,
Mm-hmm.
I would kind of go through my history with people, and I did that a few times, but then
let's talk about this.
But the last few dates, or the last few people I dated before I met Tom, I didn't do that. Like, and with Tom, I never said, and like, well, I was married, then I dated this person, then this, like, and I didn't go through that whole thing.
Well, let's talk about that since you brought that up. I think that's where the question came in about, and this is where the idea for the episode came from, was new relationships, like, okay, you've gone, and it's hard as hell to meet people if you're single.
Right.
Unless people just specifically introduce you to people or you're out and about. And I mean, let's just be honest. I did the bar scene and I've done all that, and now I'm like, yeah, that's too time consuming for me. And I'm okay by myself, but everybody gets lonely, and you would like to have a companion once in a while to go eat with or just watch a movie with or whatever. But that's where the whole topic came from, was because online dating, you're online dating, you start striking up a conversation with a person that you have no idea, are they a serial killer, are they not? And so you start literally talking to this complete stranger. What do you decide that you're going to share, and what do you decide to keep a secret? And is it a secret, or is it just like, it's not really any of your damn business to begin with?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. But I do think that with online dating, one thing that I noticed is, like, when I was just messaging somebody, you feel this closeness that's not necessarily real.
Yeah.
And so I felt better
sharing,
and like,
because they're a stranger, you don't really care if they judge you or not,
and you can't see their reaction. And even like, well, I mean, Dork from the North, I feel like we're pretty close.
We love our Dork from the North,
and I've shared a lot of things with him that maybe people that I see face to face every day, I don't tell them,
because you're braver behind camera, behind a screen.
Right. But yeah. So for me, when I started dating, I would tell people stuff online and I would like talk to them. But then when I met them face to face, it was like that anxiety comes up, like, okay, there's a real human there behind all of this.
And you can see their eye and their facial response to whatever you've done.
Yeah.
And it is hard, because you're like, do I want it to... Okay, for example, sexual partners, past sexual partners. Why do you, you're crossing that bound between a brand new person that you're just learning. They may be asking you about your past, not just sexual past, but I'm saying your past in general. And there may just be things that you're like, I don't really see how that affects us.
Right.
So it really goes back to that whole, let's leave the past in the past situation.
But is there a time where a person might need to know?
Right.
Like, and I think if you've had a trauma related to a sexual experience,
where it's going to come out between that relationship.
And you may not even know that it's going to come out, but I think that's important to share.
Yeah.
And I think the same thing with like money.
Oh yeah.
Like how much?
Yeah. Or
when do you start saying, well,
I can afford this, or I can't afford that, or I can't afford to take you to eat this week, or we're going to have to stay home and eat some beanie weenies this week because I've had to pay whatever. And another thing was arrest and
your criminal record.
I mean, really, it's awful to say, but
no, I mean, it's legit. Like, I think it is something I would rather, and I actually had this happen to me one time. A guy I was dating had quite, oh, the shame. I had quite an extensive criminal record.
We've all been there, girl.
That involved domestic violence. It involved kidnapping. It involved quite a few things. But after he told me that, then when a person who knew his history came to me and was like, hey, and I felt better because I knew it.
You was like, oh, honey, you ain't telling me nothing. I already know.
But he waited long enough for me to start getting attached to him before he told me. And honestly, at that point, I was almost afraid to like, I was afraid that, okay, this might not be... Like, you took me to the woods to tell me that, okay, no, it's all good. I mean, you can't, what do you...
Been there, done that.
This is true.
Same. I went out with a guy, And again, he waited until I really liked him and was really attached to him for him to say, "Oh, by the way, I was in prison for breaking and entering, and I was breaking and entering to support my drug habit, and I was going,
what?
Wait a minute."
I live in online. He was like, I live in a gated community. And Ben's like, oh, well, that's nice. It's not Cedar Rock.
My favorite color is orange.
His selfie's got his orange shirt on. In the background, it looks kind of like this without the trees. Yeah.
All right.
But like financially, sometimes you can put it together because you're like, hey, why are we just going for water? Like, I thought we were going on a real date. Oh, okay.
True story.
So we're getting...
And then I think once all that starts coming out, you have to be the one to be like, okay, do I want to...
Right.
Am I okay with that? Am I not okay with that?
And I do think... I want to say, I don't care how much money you've got. And honestly, I've dated people who don't have very much money. I've dated people with more money. And I think honesty in that situation is really important because some people appear to have money, but they're just in debt so big.
Yeah,
and
true.
Like, I would just soon somebody be upfront with that. I would rather know, especially if
so you kind of know what you're.
And too, like, what are your spending habits? Is it for you? Is it okay if you're already in a ton of debt to keep using your credit card and doing all this fun stuff, or what's important to you?
Well, and again, it's one of those deals where you have to decide, is honesty the best? And so that's what we are here to talk about today again is, when do you cross that bound of, that's just none of your damn business, or let me share this with you. So I wanted you to tell about this percentage right here, because if y'all haven't heard us or listened to us or watch us, anytime we do an episode, we usually try to research different interesting things about what we're talking about. And so today we literally researched keeping secrets from people. And this percentage right here cracked me the hell up.
So in our research, we found that about 60% of people have at least one secret that they don't want anybody to know.
60%.
And most of these people have been keeping the secret for 15 years. So that's like a son. It's like, hey, I have a 15-year-old son. I just wanted to tell y'all that now and here. Nobody else knows.
I mean, could you imagine? And that stuff, that shit happens.
No, it really does. And I was talking to somebody the other day, and they, with all the DNA tests now, you can send in.
Yeah.
And she's like, I found out I've got all these half brothers and half sisters because my dad's like ridiculous. But nobody knew. And here she is, my age, like, I just found out I've got all these relatives. So yeah. And if you want to read some people's secrets.
Oh, listen, this is the funniest thing ever.
There's a website
called postsecret.com.
So you go on this, you can put it on a postcard, mail it in, and they'll post it, or you can post a secret that you've anonymously posted a secret.
You don't have to put your name on it,
but
it's supposed to help get it out, like you're telling somebody.
Yeah. So I was reading some of those today, and like it started like pretty funny, and then some of them were like, "Whoa, that's a little much to be reading." So yeah, maybe if you need some entertainment,
postsecret.com.
And you should maybe send your secrets in.
Or you know what we were doing? We were like reading some of them and thinking, okay, well maybe our shit ain't that bad, because you start reading somebody else's stuff and you start feeling better about your own self.
And some of them are simple. Like I always thought the song lyrics to this song was something, and it was ridiculous. And it was like, and then there were some that were really more like, oh wow. But I do believe that if you hold on to secrets, I do think it can damage your health. Like if you're holding on to things that are bothering you, that you're carrying shame or guilt.
I agree with that.
I think that can be bad. So go ahead and post it or
message us. We'll put it out for you.
But no, I don't know. That's just funny.
Let's go over some of the examples of secrets. This is what cracks me up because I was reading over some of these today and I was like, wow.
Wow.
I think I checked all of these at some point.
What's your phobia that you don't want to share?
Oh.
Don't tell us. It's a secret.
It's a secret. Okay, so for one, an example of a secret that a lot of people keep is having an affair. Been there, done that. For anybody who don't already know my story, and I will just put it out there because I own up to it. I had an affair, and I kept it, and I only did it. I could only keep it like a few weeks. Yeah. I couldn't stand it.
Yeah, I didn't keep
it. It was too hard.
Okay, but so now when you date people,
I tell them.
You tell them.
Okay. Because when you start dating, they always go that whole what happened with you and your husband or what happened with you and your ex, and I always, my story is always the same. We, it wasn't really anything he did. I screwed up and I strayed outside the marriage, but I also throw in there that I realized that there was underlying issues that, not that it made it right or wrong, but that there was underlying issues with me that I didn't realize. Right. So anyway, I always say they always ask, well, what happened? What happened?
Well, and I do think if you share something like that, or if you hear something like that you think, oh wow, this person did what? I think if you're starting a relationship or friendship with somebody and they tell you something like that where they clearly own up to what they did wrong, and then, I think that shows maturity because you're able to say, hey, it was me.
What my thing was, I don't ever, like, my ex, I didn't want any bad against him because he legit really didn't do anything wrong. But on the back burner to that, have you noticed how many times have you heard, like, you may have asked this when you were dating, well, what happened with you and your ex? Well, we just grew apart. How many times have you heard that? We just grew apart. And that I agree people can grow apart, but I also believe that's a bullshit cop-out for people too. So in my mind, I didn't want to be that whole, well, we just grew apart.
Right.
No, we may have started by growing apart, but I helped that along. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and not to change the subject, but I think if somebody was like, well, they were this, and if somebody totally blames the other person, like, I think that's like, whoa. Mr. Perfect over there?
Yeah, it's always a two-way street. And actually a three-way street. It's usually her story, his story, and the truth.
Right.
So, okay, next is an embarrassing incident.
Usually,
I have an embarrassing incident right now.
Right now?
Right now in my head, I'm thinking of one.
Have you told it?
I'll tell it right now because. Okay, so we have this little bar in our area, and me and some friends went to the bar one night whenever I was barring it up, and somehow or another, I'm not saying it could have been a couple shots of some kind of drink. I am completely in bad shape after drink after drink after drink. And somehow or another, I wound up paying for all of the bar drinks. Everybody's in the bar, their drinks. And the way the bar was set up, there's a window. So you could sit outside and the people inside could watch the people sitting outside. So me and my friends were sitting outside. And it legit, like they could sit inside and eat while they're watching everybody outside. So me and my friends were sitting outside, and my friends were laughing at me because of course your friends are never to the point they can't remind you of the bullshit you do when you're drinking. But anyway, so they are legit saying to me, it was like dinner in a movie watching you. Because I got up to leave because I did have a driver, so I wasn't trying to drive. But when my driver got there to pick me up, I got up to go to the vehicle, and I just fell forward against the glass where all these people were inside eating their meal. And I walked down the side of the restaurant holding on to the glass. And all these people are sitting there like this watching me while they're eating. And me stumbling down the sidewalk. That was my incident because, you know, small town, when you do some crap like that, there's always going to be somebody that knows you. And so the next
or
week,
videos of you, that would have been even better.
Honest to goodness, the next week, people were like, Bree, did we see you leaning up against the building? And
no,
I'm like,
that was my twin.
Anyway, that was my embarrassing incident.
Well, something that happened to me that I've never two people I guess know about it. I used to go with a friend of mine. We were both single. We would go out. I was her driver. Mm-hmm. She would have a few drinks. Guys would buy her drinks.
Because if you don't know this, Dana's not a drinker person.
So she's very, she's attractive. So guys buy her drinks all the time.
Yeah.
So the bartender, we became friendly with him. And I thought he was just adorable. So he writes down his number and gives it to my friend. And I know good and well that it's for her, but she slides it over to me because she knows that I think he's adorable. So I texted him, and
how did that
there was
out?
No response. But to me, that's embarrassing because, I knew, but I just had this little bit of hope, and, it wasn't even... I knew that he liked her, but I thought, I could talk to him and, kind of help her. No. That was, crickets.
No. So, do you think
if it had been... she laughed at me later.
Do you think if it had been her and messaged him, he'd have been probably
he'd have been all about it. Yeah.
So, see?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, don't give my friends your number. I'll text you.
That's right. I call that the ugly duckling syndrome because I was always the ugly duckling when me and my friends went out.
Right.
I was the... Bree's got the personality. She'll just shoot up the shit with people and talk to people. And then when she gets that door open, I can swoop in because I don't know how to talk to people.
Well, that's how this, literally, my friend would be over here with all these young guys over here, buying her drinks, coming in. And then I'm sitting over here talking, no offense, but to the old man with no teeth. And he's telling me his life story about how his son, and his and I'm just over here
mm-hmm.
And then she's like, hey, are you okay? I'm like, it's fine.
Yeah, why not?
I can listen for...
I know. It's the truth. That's what happens.
Yeah.
And the best we can hope for is that he's owns a company or something, or even a funeral home. Maybe we'll get a discount. I don't know.
Well, then I remember he said, I would buy you a drink, but it doesn't look like you're drinking. And I'm like, no, but you could buy me some tacos. No, I didn't really say that. I was like, I'm good. No, don't feel like you owe me anything.
No, because you really might want me to pay you back some way or shape or form.
So,
all right. So, your web browser history is another one.
I don't really hide that anymore. Do you? Oh. She do.
Who do I hide mine from? I mean,
your mama.
My poor mama can hardly answer. My son don't mess with my phone because he's probably looking up shit on his own phone. But anyway, I don't really do that.
No,
no. I've never really done that. No.
Yeah.
Now messages, maybe.
Deleting messages.
Yes.
But you delete.
I delete every day.
You delete every day.
And some people are like, you remember what I told you last week? No, I don't, because I delete. I literally, when I say I delete your message, I delete messages every single day.
Yeah, she does.
So don't send me a telephone number or something important because I didn't keep
delete
it.
it. She'll delete
that's
it.
right.
That's true. Debt. We talked about
that
debt already.
Sexual fantasies. That's one of my favorites right there.
So yeah,
I totally do not keep that a secret from people. I'm just laying it out there for you.
Well, and I think
sexual fetishes.
Oh, fetishes.
Was the name of it.
Well, I think. Well, I guess they were kind of the same.
Fetishes, fantasies, it's all the same.
But I'm pretty vanilla. I think if I had like some really crazy stuff, I probably wouldn't tell people. I mean, not like I tell everybody anyway. But okay, go ahead.
Okay, so in case y'all are wondering, I am known as the one who shares
The
probably. Pervert is a strong word.
The open one.
Again, don't like that description.
She's open for business, y'all. The open one.
I don't.
The more experiential one.
Maybe, but I don't care. It doesn't embarrass me. Let me say that. Sexual content or talking about sexual content does not embarrass me.
Right.
Some people can crawl in a hole when the word sex is even brought up. Why? It's a common natural thing. But I'm not going to say that if I'm talking to a new person, like we talked today. Okay, so I'm talking to a new person, and the conversation came up about body count. And if y'all don't know what body count means,
it's one of two things.
It's not how many people you've killed.
It's either the number of people you've murdered or the
how many
number
you
of
slept
people
with.
you've had sexual relations
So
with.
if somebody says to you, what is your body count? They're wanting to know how many people you have slept with in your past. And so that conversation came up about body count, and I'm like, let's don't even talk about it. And it's not that I'm ashamed or embarrassed of it. It's the fact that I don't want to bring up my past. I don't let that define me, and I leave it there. Let's just leave it in the past.
Right.
Well, some people are obsessed with it.
Mm-hmm.
They have to know. And so me and this guy are talking about it, and I was like, why is that such a big deal for people? Because it seems to be a men thing.
To me, it seems to be more of a man thing.
It seems to be that I don't ask men.
No, but I've heard there's a saying that if you want to know a man's true body count, whatever he says, divide it by 3.
Really?
For a woman, whatever she says, multiply it by 3. But
no, let's don't say that. I don't like that rule.
But you'd be honest.
I would be honest.
But like if you're trying to impress somebody, because guys tend to
over and guys and girls under.
Like under.
Okay, well that would make sense. But I don't.
And the reason is because like girls get shamed for it, like
and guys are patted on the back,
right?
And see, so I make a point of not saying how many people have you been with, because first off,
well,
that was before me. It's not my business.
Well, and it feels kind of immature to me.
Yes, but what I did find out from this person was that it's not so much being nosy from a guy's perspective. It's in his head he gets that he's going to be compared to everybody you've been with. Okay, well in my mind I wouldn't even ask, because I would only want, if I was going to think and I was going to be compared to somebody, I would only want to be compared to like 1 or 2. But now if girlfriend rolls out a big body count of 90 or 100, that's some serious.
Listen, I think at that point you're not like you have to make a diagram. You have to make a
tree, a family tree.
Well, you are, because how can you be like, well, this person was? I mean, you can't sort 90 people.
Well,
I can't sort 3 things in my head.
But we were talking about this earlier today, and I said I don't really think I compare people that way.
No.
Like I'm not gonna sleep with somebody and be like, oh, how big was he? No, I don't do that. I don't compare the notes.
No.
Now, what I think as women, we compare of
the whole experience, maybe,
and the how quick did he rush me out the door afterwards?
Right.
And how quick did he call me afterwards?
Right.
And did I ever even hear from him again
Right.
afterwards?
Did he even care if I was satisfied? Like,
Did he even make sure I got home?
Did he, did he just throw my bags out the door? No, I think that's and to me that means more. Like,
Yes,
I
yes,
don't know.
absolutely.
A lot of things that I think men worry about.
Yeah.
I don't think we.
But let's just be honest. That's common nature. We obsess over shit. We're like, the guys are going, why are you so focused on that? And then they're over here obsessing over stuff, and we're going,
yeah, well,
what?
That don't even matter. Poor.
Okay, so sexual fetishes is a secret that they don't feel comfortable sharing with people.
Okay.
Most people don't feel comfortable sharing with people. I'm okay with it. Okay.
But how soon do you share that?
First conversation.
Oh.
Legit first conversation.
Messaging conversation or talk?
Phone conversation.
Okay.
And it's basically because I'm not just like, hey, let me tell you what I like. No, that's not how it goes. Usually you start talking to people, and by how you talk, they are gathering information. You think about from the very first conversation you have with a person, they're tallying up and they're taking in all this information about you. So by the first good phone conversation, in my mind, they're like, okay, she's either a freak or
not.
That
makes me uncomfortable. Like, if I'm talking to a guy and the first time I talk to him, he's talking about that.
Yeah.
Well, that freaks me out.
Now,
like,
there's a difference between talking about it and on and on and on about it. Like, my comment to people is that first phone conversation, I will say, like, well, I consider myself a sexual person.
Okay.
That's kind of what I say.
Uh-huh.
I don't bring it up. In fact, me and this guy had this conversation because I said, my pet peeve is for a guy to not be able to carry on a conversation with me without bringing up some sexual innuendo involved in it. You know what I mean? Innuendo. Because that...
Is that one of your fetishes, innuendo?
Innuendo.
I was looking innuendo. Or they were looking innuendo at me.
Okay. So, another one is something in your family history.
This is a good one because I think I was talking to a lady right before we came in here, and she was like, my family... She didn't even know her mom and dad's name until they died. Or maybe she did. But they were from another country, so they didn't change their name, but they went by another name because it was easier with, just instead of being some name from another country.
Right.
But also, I think if a family member had, like, if my mom's been in prison 12 times, I might not tell you that. And yes, for those of y'all who know Doris, she rolls like that.
She's all about the thug life.
No, she's not. I'm just kidding.
Well,
or like mental health.
Yes, mental health. I could see that.
People may not share that right off the bat.
Arrest.
But now I want to know. Like, I want to know that. But I don't know how early I want to know that.
Well, and okay.
But that tells you a lot about, like, if your mom and dad were an alcoholic. Like,
yes.
That's good to know.
That's traumatic. That's traumatic stuff.
Because that makes a whole difference in who you are as a person.
I agree. So I could say yes and no to that. A phobia.
What you scared of?
I don't know.
I'm kind of afraid of heights, but I wouldn't be ashamed to tell anybody that.
I don't think there's any kind of phobias I'd be afraid to tell people.
I'm afraid. I'm afraid.
What about something that you bought? No. If I've got money to buy something, I'm damn bragging about it.
Sometimes I'm embarrassed with stuff I buy. At Christmas, after Christmas, when I got my Christmas money, I bought myself a Amazon Echo, and I was embarrassed to tell people.
Why?
Cause it's nonsense. And I kind of was like, I hesitated to tell Tom. I didn't tell him like when I ordered it. I waited until like I knew he was gonna be at my house, and I was like, "You're gonna think I'm ridiculous." It's like, why did you buy that? It's like, look, it was either that or a robot vacuum cleaner.
One of the two was going on with me. One
Clearly,
of the two.
I went with entertainment instead of chores.
Okay, what about what about people that are braggy about it? You know what I mean?
Like it.
See, no. All right.
But if I'm in a relationship with somebody like a serious, if you're sharing money,
yes, then you'd want to know.
well, yeah, and I
But like, okay, for instance, we had a friend of ours today. We were talking about her husband does the buying and selling of guns.
okay, I might have missed this.
Like he's a collector. He collects these like collectible guns. And she said he has so many that most of the time he just tells me if he buys a new one, he just says, "Oh, honey, I've had it forever." Because she said, I don't know what he's got and what he don't. And so she said a lot of times he'll have 4 or 5 new collectors put up in the safe. And she's like, "Honey, how long did you have that?" And he's like, "Oh, I've had that for forever." And he's just bought it.
Right.
But, so technically is that one? That's not really.
It's kind of secret keep. I mean, it is. Well, but he's not telling her, hey, $300 is going to be out of the bank account.
Well, I don't know.
See, I'm torn on that because you make your money. I guess it depends on how in your couple
if your power bill getting ready to get cut off.
And be like, I shouldn't turn my power off. This episode has a lot of violence.
It does have a lot of violence.
I don't shoot.
It's okay. So, that you smoke or drink. Let's throw that in there. That you are a smoker or a drinker, or that you used to be.
Now, I will say that's kind of a pet peeve of mine. If, like, on a dating website, they put non-smoker.
And then you meet up with them and they like
smelling of the smoke. It's like, where you go back to the 1980s in a convenience store? Why do you smell like that?
Why not just be honest about that? Because it's not really going to make a difference on a dating website. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. I mean, I don't know.
My favorite is on the dating website where people put, but trying to quit.
Yeah.
Actively trying to quit.
Yeah. Well, and that was the thing, like on drinking, it always tripped me up because I wanted to put no, but I thought, but I will drink. It's not like I'm a drinker, but I will drink. If I need to.
Well, well, and I think we've all we go out to eat with our friends and everybody has like a pina colada for dinner or something. Okay, but I don't think that's really what it's asking.
Right.
I think it's more like, do you require having to have a 6-pack every evening when you get home from work?
I've seen that before.
Would that fall into that moderate light? Where does that fall?
And some of the sites do have that where you can choose.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right. Someone you're in love with.
I do recommend, if you're in a relationship, keeping that a secret if you're in love with somebody else. Probably.
We are seriously advising you.
It's best not to let your girlfriend meet your wife. But, okay, so though, let's say this. So you're on a dating site now, so you're talking to people or a person. But you have been open and telling me, like, hey, I met this person. I mean, I guess you've told me most stuff. Not stuff, but like people you've talked to. Would you keep that from people, like your friends or family? Would you be
well, like with you, the reason that I kept you were with me when I set the profile up, when I started it. But now until now, friends that are listening to us now are not.
Oh, hey, everybody, dating.
But I don't. What I normally do, I don't share it until I see if it's somebody that it leads to something.
Right. Well, and like you've got kids.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. I will not.
Okay.
And see, that's another thing. Is that a see? I mean, people know that I have kids, but I don't bring that part of my life into my kids' lives.
Right.
Until
and I respect that. I dated a guy who had kids, and I never met them. We didn't date.
It was like separate.
Yeah.
And I hate to say that you're living two different lives, but you kind of are if you have kids.
Well, and I think especially with younger kids.
Yes.
I don't know. How many people do they need to meet until you figure it out?
Yeah, I really, for real, I went out with this guy one time, and I was more weirded out about meeting his child. We wound up accidentally meeting each other. We had gone out to eat, and we ran into him and his mom when we went out to eat. And so it was just, again, one of those weird incidences. But of course the kid comes running up, Daddy, and so you always do the whole, this is my friend. Right. Everybody's a friend until they're not.
Why can't we be friends?
So he says, this is my friend Bree, and so the kid literally says, oh, is she friends with your friend Linda?
Oops.
Yeah, girl. So I'm like,
what's a Linda? Linda who?
What? What just happened here?
Were you friends with Linda?
So the ex-wife is like, you could tell, could crawl in a hole and was trying to shut the kid up.
I love it though. That kid needs to preach on, little kid.
So we actually wound up talking about it afterwards, and I said, what just happened here? And he said, well, the last girl I dated, his name was Linda. And I said, when did you date Linda last that your kid remembered Linda? Was it like, did you drop her off on the way to meet me? Or how does that work?
Yeah.
But see, I felt more guilty about that for his kid than I think he did.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But then, okay, so this kind of, I guess we're not going to have time to talk about that, but how do you know? Like, is he legit? Like, I hadn't seen Linda in a year?
See, let's roll on into, how do you tell between bullshit and reality? You don't.
I don't. I'll be honest.
You don't know.
I don't.
You just don't know. Everybody, and listen, y'all, again, I'm spiritual. I follow my intuitions. I'm an empath. I can pick up on people's energies and stuff.
But when it comes to her personal life, whoa.
I suck.
Me too, though.
I can tell everybody what to do, what I think they should do, and how, listen, you need to be careful because that person's telling you crap. And but now me,
she like, oh, I believe it. And I get it, because
well, and it's not that
you want to believe it.
You want to believe the best of people. I do, and I can be a bitch. I know I can, but I want to believe that everybody will treat me like I want to treat them.
Right.
And so, I don't know. You just kind of. I think you deep down you have the gut.
I think
you have the intuition,
and you have to trust it.
And then you start. Everybody's like the red and green flags. Well, what if you got yellow flags? Because a lot of times that's what we do. We look for yellow flags.
Slow down. Just
roll it back. But see, you start doing that red and green flag, and I think the intuition, the gut feeling, that don't ever really lie you. It don't ever. Usually. It may be that you're ignoring it because it's not what you want to hear, and it's not what you want to feel, and it's not how you want things to be. But majority of the time, your gut intuition is telling you exactly where you're supposed to be.
I do believe that. Now, I don't always know how to separate gut from overthinking, but I believe there's truth that we know.
And basically, as far as between the bullshit reality, just like we said, until they either earn trust, and we're talking not just relationships, we're talking friendships.
Right.
until they, because I know there's secrets, and I know that there's stuff that's, you know, been said about me, and I know that there's stuff that's been said about my family, and I know that there's friends. We've both had friends that have basically stabbed us in the back over stuff, and so it's not just dating relationships, but we're saying, how do you weed through the crap between any kind of relationship you may have in your life? So again, even with friends and family, if you get that something just is off here, something just don't seem right, then it usually is.
Right.
It's usually off.
And I think that's why sometimes we don't share everything with people, because we do kind of have that vibe that, oh, I don't know if I think a lot of them with my stuff.
And so it's kind of a protection, a defense mechanism, I think, where we're like, you know, it's not the fact that we don't want to share, it's the fact that we're like, I'm not ready to. You've got to earn that. You've got to earn my vulnerability.
And it may not even be something they've done. It could be what
past
a friend before did, a guy before did.
And don't give me that crap about, don't make me pay for your past. I am here to tell you, I don't care what a saint you are. You're going to pay for somebody's past one way or the other. They may not mean for you to. They may not intentionally mean to come at you with their past crap, but you're going to. You're going to. It's just human nature.
And it makes you who you are, and your past forms you. And
because the first reaction is, okay, I learned a very, very valuable life lesson by going through this with such and such, so I will not put myself through that again.
Right.
And so we do bring that into the next whatever situation may be. So sometimes I don't know that it's really keeping secrets. Maybe maybe it's too personal. Maybe you're not at a place to share. You know, whatever it may be.
Well, and I do think, even though I like to overshare, I think there's some things
you don't really need to.
It's not really anybody's business.
No, that's right.
And I do think, especially in a relationship where you're living together or really close to somebody, just because you're close to somebody doesn't mean they have 100% access to you.
Right. And I think that...
And I used to not believe that, but now, like, there's things I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
That's,
because it would mess with my head more.
From here on out.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's better for it to just be put in the closet and left there.
Yeah.
I think. All right, guys. So that is kind of where our episode is going to wrap up for this time.
Wrap it up.
Bullshit or reality. So we can't help you because there's really not a right answer.
We don't know.
We don't really know.
We don't know.
I'm going to go back to my whole first theory and say, follow your gut.
Follow your gut.
Follow your gut.
And if you have secrets that you want to share, send them our way.
Send them our way. You don't have to put your name on them. We can make them known.
If you want to share a secret. No. I just think it's just interesting to me, the things we hide.
The things that we think is important. Yeah, I got you.
The mask that we wear.
Yeah. Everybody's got a mask. It cracks me up.
Oh, and more than one.
Yeah.
I got my work mask. I got my friend mask.
My dating mask.
Yeah.
My mom mask. The man in the iron mask. That cracks me up. Okay. So, guys, we hope you've enjoyed this week's episode. If you have any comments, please leave us a comment. If you think we're full of crap, you can tell us that. But please don't, because we kind of get our feelings hurt.
I'm sensitive.
We are sensitive. No, really. Like, share, follow, subscribe
is the word she's
right, that's what I'm trying to say. So that you'll get notification the next time we get ready to do another episode. And we're sorry we missed last week. We got caught up in scheduling. So anyway,
thank y'all for watching and listening.
Absolutely.
Bye,
we love
guys.
you. Bye.